It's time once again for another round of the Patreon board. We got 3 requested videos this time around, including a video game review, which I'll do before the bonus objective video. But let's start with our newest patron's request. From Ojunix, I got requested to do The Last Unicorn. The Last Unicorn is another Rankin Bass produced film, but also one that was co-produced by Topcraft, a Japanese studio from former Toei producer Toru Hara. They're known to help produce a variety of films both within Japan and outside it, either as a primary producer or a co-producer. And naturally, they've had a hand in producing several animated videos for Rankin Bass, including The Hobbit and The Return of the King. I already mentioned before how I tend to prefer the stop-motion works of Rankin Bass, though I'm curious to see how much a Japanese anime studio can influence some of the usual Rankin Bass design work. One last thing is that this movie is based off an existing novel of the same name by Peter Beagle, which was ranked number 5 among the 33 all-time best fantasy novels in Locus magazine, and including the film we're looking at, there was a stage adaptation of the book and plans for a live-action movie adaptation, though so far it hasn't gotten off the ground yet. Of course, per usual, I'm mostly taking the movie on its own merits, while solemnly mentioning any differences from online. In any case, let's take a look at the movie that, from what I hear, seems to be pretty divisive. This is The Last Unicorn. Right away, we're treated with a serene and beautiful view of a forest, showcasing one of the many beautifully drawn backgrounds that often get overlooked when it comes to old animated movies. In any case, we see what appear to be hunters talking about the majesty of the unicorn forest.
Unicorns? I thought they only existed in fairy tales. This is a forest, like any other, isn't it?
And why do the leaves never fall here? Or the snow? Why is it always spring? I tell you, there is one unicorn left in the world. And as long as it lives in this forest, we'll find no game to hunt here. Stay where you are, poor beast. This is no world for you. Stay in your forest and keep your trees green and your friends protected. And good luck to you, for you are the last.
Thanks?
I am the only unicorn there is. The last?
Well, that's what he said. But anyway, let's talk more animation. The human designs in this one tend to have less of that innocent and cartoony goofiness that other Rankin Bass productions have, and tend to go for more rugged and sometimes sharper appearances. I'm actually reminded more of the humanoid designs in their production of The Hobbit, and most of the time, they really work well. There can be a bit of uncanniness with the eyes, but that's the least of anyone's problems. The creature designs vary from lifelike proportions to illustration influenced, capturing the wonderful fantasy-like elements you might have come to expect. This is especially true during the opening song.
When the first breath of winter through the flowers is icing, and you look to the north, and a pale moon is rising.
The music also sets the tone well given the fantasy themes in place, as they were composed by Jimmy Webb and performed by America and the London Symphony Orchestra. Even as a product of the time, plus them telling us what to feel about things, they do at least make a solid fit with this type of film. That doesn't apply to all the songs in this movie though, but in any case, the unicorn, voiced by Mia Farrow, ponders about why she might be the last unicorn despite sounding like she's speaking through a filter. Well, actually that's just her mental thoughts, as when she talks to someone, like this butterfly, she sounds normal.
Hello, butterfly. Welcome. Have you traveled very far?
How far would I travel, if to be where you are? Clay lies still, but blood's a rover. Red Rover, let Charlie come over. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Won't you come home, my wild Irish rose?
Is he seriously hitting on her? I get she's pretty, but you're probably not her type. He also seems to speak in vague pop culture songs.
1, 2, 3, oh Larry. Oh, have you seen the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? One alone to be my own. Buckle down, windsock, buckle down. See you later, alligator.
Well, I did say not all the songs fit with the tone of the movie. He eventually tells the nice lady about where the unicorns are, with descriptions that do sound like they could be from the book.
They passed down all the roads long ago, and the Red Bull ran close behind them and covered their footprints.
The Red Bull? What is the Red Bull?
Of course, he's still vague about certain things, making me question what his book counterpart is like in regards to his randomness. The unicorn, of course, doesn't know what to believe, but gets riled up thinking about the possibility that this Red Bull did scare everyone away. So she decides to leave her forest in search of her kind. Passing through the land, possibly through the seasons, she passes by a farm where she gets mistaken for a white mare, since it seems her horn is invisible to humans like the butterfly implied. And instead of running away, she just awkwardly shifts in place.
Mare? Mare? I? A horse? Is that what you take me for? Is that what you see?
You can run away, you know. Even if you are smarter than the average animal, your instincts would tell you he's going to manhandle you. So run away! Naturally, since he only sees her as a horse, he's unable to stop her horn from pulling away his belt. This would enforce her belief that unicorns still exist, since man can't see them as unicorns, which is an okay mechanic in fantasy logic, meaning some condition must be met to see them properly. After another song sequence of her walking down man's road, she's soon met by Mommy Fortuna, voiced by the always enjoyable Angela Lansbury, who runs a carnival of animals that are under a spell by her that makes them think they're actually something else. She's not the only one who can see the unicorn for what it is, as it seems the young wizard, voiced by Alan Arkin, can see her as well, but goes along with her wishes to not tell Rook, their hunchback. Not sure why you need to when you openly use magic in front of him. Wouldn't you want to let him know the creature you have is real? I mean, you're already running a false circus and have to give the unicorn an actual horn to wear. Still, I like this dialogue that suggests further readings from the book.
Here is the dragon. Breathes fire now and then. Mostly at people who poke it, little boy. Its inside is an inferno, but its skin is so cold, it burns. Teen languages badly and is subject to gout. Creatures of night, brought to light.
Now again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how much is carried over. But this is certainly the kind that gets your imagination going in wondering what these illusions look like, and more so what the unicorn sees them as. But regardless of how the book was written, you too could probably sound as convincing as the characters themselves. So it seems Smendrick, as he's called, can talk to her, and after hearing his dialogue...
That's true, she can only disguise. And only for those eager to believe whatever comes easy. No, she can't turn cream into butter. But she can make a lion look like a manticore to eyes that want to see a manticore.
Yeah, I agree with Beagle. His performance makes him sound a bit flat. Anyway, turns out the harpy they have, Silano, who I'm not sure whether to use black bars or not, is the only other mystic creature here that's real and is planning to escape. For whatever reason, Schmendrick wants to free the unicorn and says to wait for him. Otherwise, after subduing the harpy, Fortuna talks with the unicorn in regards to how they both are fated to die at some point or another, but otherwise knows about the Red Bull too.
Your death sits in that cage, and she hears you.
Oh, she'll kill me one day or another. But she will remember forever that I caught her. Now, you were out on the road hunting for your own death. And I know where it awaits you.
Honestly, I was hoping she would be the main antagonist, since she could influence creatures with her dark magic, while claiming to be the only thing protecting the unicorn from the Red Bull. Like, he really is this threat only matched by her. Sadly, that's not the case, as this is more of a journey of self-discovery and learning for the unicorn. So we have more characters to meet who will have some impact, if not for a little while. Schmendrick returns and offers his allegiance to set her free. His first spell briefly has her back home with the forest animals, before trying another spell, and yeah, he can't do magic worth crap. So he eventually settles for using keys. Of course, Rook finds out and tries to stop him, and has trouble. Yet during the struggle, the unicorn frees the other animals, as well as Solano.
We are sisters, you and I.
So the lock was what caused her to be subdued? Otherwise, why not do that at the start? Anyway, her two captors die.
Run! You must run! Oh, God! Run away from here, now!
No. Come with me. Come with me. Don't look back. And don't run. You must never run from anything immortal. It attracts their attention.
Good thing she never returns. Seriously, we never see Solano ever again. The unicorn admits that while she can feel sorrow, she doesn't feel regret. She allows Schmendrick to follow her and asks him about King Haggard, who Fortuna mentioned and whose land has been ruined as of late, and more about the Red Bull.
I have heard that he's an old man who rules over a barren country by the sea. Some say that Haggard's land was green and soft once before he came, but the minute he touched it, it became hard and gray.
Tell me about the Red Bull.
The Red Bull? Well, I've heard too many tales to tell you the truth. I've heard that the bull is real, that the bull is a ghost. I've heard that the Red Bull protects Haggard, or else that it keeps him a prisoner in his own castle. There are so many stories.
It's build up, and so far all we get are bandits who probably would get beaten up by the dwarves in The Hobbit. They're led by Captain Cully, voiced by the late Keenan Wynn, who incidentally also voiced Solano earlier.
Add some more water to the soup, love. There's company.
I'll not have it, Cully. Not another mouth to feed. The soup's no thicker than sweat as it is.
My love, where's your Greenwood hospitality?
And who's this long lout? I don't like the look of him. Slit his wizard.
I say we let him go. Yeah, Molly is an eventual party member who Beagle didn't have a detailed background for in the book, yet did like Tammy Grimes' performance, which seems to add more to her character than he could have. Anyway, to hopefully keep himself alive, he tries to use magic to show the legendary Robin Hood, who to them doesn't exist. But the unicorn uses her magic to conjure up illusions of the character and his band, which admittingly is pretty cool despite it not convincing Cully, but it does get the other guys wanting to follow. Still, Schmendrick gets tied to a tree with rather large knockers and what may be its O-face. When the two leave him, he uses magic, and then...
Oh, I love you.
Oh my God.
Oh, what have I done?
Always, faithfulness beyond any man's deserving. I will keep the color of your eyes when no other in the world remembers your name.
And that was how Pinocchio was born. For some reason, when the unicorn returns, The tree acts like she's going to commit suicide with Schmendrick, but she just returns to normal after he's freed, so... false tension? Molly shows up and it seems she's capable of seeing the unicorn too.
Where have you been? Where have you been? Damn you! Where have you been? Oh. And where were you 20 years ago? 10 years ago? Where were you when I was new? When I was one of those innocent young maidens you always come to? How dare you? How dare you come to me now, when I am this?
Now, I don't know if the book had her say this, or if this is an addition, but either way, I still like the performance, and the hint that she was once a pure maiden before becoming a bandit. She forces herself into the party, since she knows the way to King Haggard's land, and soon they find themselves in Mordor. Apparently, the king is using the Red Bull, making me question his intentions even more. But hey, we're well over halfway into the movie, so let's see this Red Bull. Crap, that looks cool! It sort of reminds me of the rhino from James and the Giant Peach, in which it's sort of a metaphor for death, but in a supernatural form. The way this thing came out, I wouldn't be surprised if the king is trying to drive off or kill unicorns using some kind of magic, but as we'll later see, that's not actually the case, and the mystery of the Red Bull will only deepen. After some tense moments of trying to decide how to help her, or what the unicorn can do, Schmendrick takes a chance and uses his magic to turn the unicorn into a human woman, which causes the bull to leave.
I couldn't think of anything else to do to save you.
What have you done to me? I'm a unicorn. I'm a unicorn.
Don't, you'll hurt yourself.
Be still. The magic knew what it was doing. In this shape alone, you have some hope of reaching King Haggard and finding out what has become of the other unicorns.
I wish you had let the Red Bull take me. I wish you had left me to the harpy. I can feel this body dying all around me.
Damn, it's like she lost the will to live after taking this form. She implies her life is leaving her, which is probably the side effect of this form. She's no longer immortal, and for the first time, she's afraid of her own death. Not sure how mortality would be more scary than the Red Bull, who by all accounts could have just outright killed you on the spot, but it does at least relate to how people are afraid of their eventual death through age, as well as being a continuation of what Mommy Fortuna mentioned earlier. Anyway, they finally reach the castle where two guards see and approach them.
Give your names.
I am Schmendrick, the magician. This is Molly Grew, my helper, and this is the Lady Amalthea.
Amalthea, huh? That is a nice name you gave her. After passing through the creepy, ominous castle that Maleficent would gush over, we learn that these two are actually King Haggard and Prince Lear, voiced by Christopher Lee and Jeff Bridges of all people. Yeah, Christopher Lee I would expect, but Jeff Bridges? Not complaining though. In any case, Haggard has no desire for anyone but themselves and the four men of arms, as well as his own magician named Mabruk, who besides being voiced by Paul Frees, seems to know Schmendrick. Guess all wizards know each other in this world. Molly wants Schmendrick to replace him since Mabruk doesn't make him happy. And Haggard isn't for anything that doesn't make him happy. Yeah, like he really has a place for happiness in this dump. Still, he takes it well.
called the world. You have let your doom in by the front door, but it will not depart that way. Farewell, poor Haggard. Farewell.
And that's the last we really see of him. He seems to know what Amalthea really is, but is content to just let Haggard die on his own than be part of the movie. Indeed, though, she does interest Haggard, despite having moments of outrage, possibly of vanity or unable to see himself for what he is. Well, either way, the prince certainly has interest in her too. Though this next song sequence is a bit weird, it sets the tone for how our heroes are living, but it does feature one thing that bugs me.
The birds have learned to speak.
Why is there an Eastern dragon here? Wouldn't it make more sense to go with something more Western or medieval? Where are they exactly? But at least Schmendrick's getting better with his magic. It's got Haggard. Curious, at least. Prince Lear tries asking Molly about Amalthea and why she isn't interested in him as he really decides to help her, but she never seems to care.
What's left on Earth that I haven't tried? Giants, ogres, black knights, terrible tasks, fatal riddles. Molly, for her sake, I've become a hero, but my great deeds mean nothing to her.
Then perhaps the Lady Amalthea is not to be won by great deeds.
Who is she, Molly? Where does she come from? I don't know any more about her than I did the first day she came here.
Molly talks with her, which Haggard listens to, and I thought perhaps he thought they were talking about him, but it leads into about herself.
Why am I here? What is it that I'm seeking in this strange place, day after day? I knew a moment ago, but I've forgotten.
The unicorns. If you are not the last.
Once I can't remember. I was long ago.
So, being human has been making you forget yourself? Is this you feeling emotion? And it's somehow making you forget about your unicorn life? It must be. She started to lose what she came to look for and seems doubtful of Schmendrick's options in helping. I don't understand why, but anyway, after she leaves, we find someone who does at least know about the Red Bull.
The bull be going out. He goes out every sundown to hunt for the strange white beast that escaped him.
Don Messick, what are you doing here? Yeah, Pirate Cat says that the Red Bull goes out regularly to find Amalthea's unicorn self and is aware of what she is. He's also one of the best minor characters in the movie.
It may be that she'll marry the good prince who loves her. Oh, purr, do that. Yes, that be nice.
I just love how he speaks. And while he is a bit selfish, as most cats in movies are, it does go well with his pirate motif. He too gives Molly a vague description of where the tunnel to the Red Bull is, but at least it's more clear than the damn butterfly ever was.
Why must you always speak in riddles?
Because I be what I be. I would tell you what you want to know if I could, Mum, but I be a cat, and no cat anywhere ever gave anyone a straight answer.
Amalthea seems to be forgetting more and more about herself, and since Lear insisted, she wants him to help with her problems and...
I've had time to write a book about the way you act and look, but I haven't got a paragraph.
Yeah, even though he doesn't know anything personal about her, he's still into her, which of course is more on looks. But it doesn't completely contrast from the song sequence.
Music isn't one with me. It runs from me. It runs from me. And I tried to write a symphony
I guess she's now feeling that emotion called love, as even Haggard seems to hint at it. But there's really not enough chemistry between them to really make me care for it. It's just another one of those love at first sight things, only one of the characters doesn't seem to understand what love is. Haggard reveals that Lear was actually adopted, and for a brief time he did feel happiness. He also seems to imply he knows what Amalthea really is from dialogue that's sorta chilling given the performance.
You as soon as I saw you on the road, coming to my door. Since then, there is no movement of yours that has not betrayed you. A pace, a glance, a turn of the head, the flash of your throat as you breathe. Even your way of standing perfectly still, they were all my spies. You made me wonder for a little while.
Christopher Lee actually brought in his own copy of the book while working on the film because he felt some lines shouldn't be omitted from the screenplay, which, I should mention, was also by Beagle himself. And you can tell from his delivery the compassion he had toward the film and the book given how he was able to portray the character. They speak of an uncertain future that Amalthea will have when continuing down this path, and what may happen if she does anger him. Speaking of which, he reveals to us where and what he has done with the unicorns using the Red Bull.
Red Bull gathered them for me one by one, and I bade him drive each one into the sea. Now they live there, and every tide carries them within an easy step of the land, but they dare not come out of the water. I like to watch them. They fill me with joy. The first time I felt it, I thought I was going to die. I said to the Red Bull, I must have them. I must have all of them, all there are. For nothing makes me happy but their shining and their grace. So the Red Bull caught them. Each time I see the unicorns, my unicorns, it is like that morning in the woods, and I am truly young in spite of myself.
My lord, I do not understand. I see nothing at all in the water.
Do you still deny yourself? Do you dare still pretend to be human?
I don't know if these are ramblings of a madman who thinks that the key to happiness is preservation in one secure location, or if there's meaning to how it keeps him young. But one thing is certain, Amalthea is starting to show emptiness in her eyes. She's losing her reason for being here. Even though she's starting to fall in love with someone, I guess it's not enough. She may end up becoming alone? We'll see. Anyway, after talking to Brooke version 0, they finally figure out where to go, but when they go to leave...
Unicorn! Haggard! Haggard! Unicorn! Unicorn! Haggard! Yes, go! Down to the Red Bull! The clock, Haggard! There she goes!
Oh, good thing he was within shouting distance. Two of them enter the clock first, but I guess Schmendrick had to distract Haggard. I'm not even sure why he's bothering. If they go to the Red Bull, he'll have one more unicorn than he currently has. Oh, and I guess Lear found his way in here shortly after Haggard. But now they're trapped since he destroyed the clock. He's brought up to speed and told about Amalthea's identity.
Unicorn, mermaid, sorceress. No name you would give her would surprise or frighten me. I love whom I love.
Excellent. Now go back to writing poems about how you want to ride the pony. At this point, Amalthea feels love for him too, but doesn't want to turn back because now she would rather die with him instead of being alone.
I will not love you when I'm a unicorn.
Amalthea, don't.
Then let the quest end here. I don't think I could change it back even if you wished it. Marry the prince and live happily ever after.
Yes, that is my wish.
No. My lady, I am a hero, and heroes know that things must happen when it is time for them to happen. A quest may not simply be abandoned. Unicorns may go unrescued for a long time, but not forever. A happy ending cannot come in the middle of the story.
But what if there isn't a happy ending at all?
There are no happy endings, because nothing ends.
Although I feel like some pieces of the story could extend a bit more to make the falling out moment a bit more convincing. I'm still not convinced that Amalthea would want to accept her mortality just to live with someone mortal, because not enough happened between them to make me believe in their romance. That's one of the problems with the story. Part of it feels a bit rushed, which is weird considering that for the most part, everything that's happened in the book. I'm not sure if anything got abridged or if this was intended to be. But at any rate, the Red Bull returns, no longer fooled by her new form. They try fighting it, but it's no good. Schmendrick lets loose his magic and returns Amalthea to normal, only now she may be driven to sea. Lear steps in, only to be one-shotted like a monster to a hunter would. This only makes her mad, though. And that's it for the Red Bull. We never find out why he existed and why he helped a sad king with his foolish desires. Speaking of the king, though...
The last! I knew you were the last!
Amalthea uses her power to revive Lear and seems to part with them. Everyone starts having their own goodbyes and reasons for living now, like Lear deciding to rebuild his kingdom, and Schmendrick getting to talk to Amalthea about what she may do now.
Always wished. Does it make you happy?
Well, men don't always know when they're happy, but I think so. And you?
I am a little afraid to go home. I have been mortal, and some part of me is mortal yet. I'm no longer like the others. For no unicorn was ever born who could regret. But now I do. I regret.
I am sorry. I have done you evil, and I cannot undo it.
No. Unicorns are in the world again. No sorrow will live in me as long as that joy. Save one. And I thank you for that part, too.
I guess you can say she now knows what it means to be mortal. And all the beauty that comes with it. So this was an interesting film, to say the least. It definitely has a lot going for it, though also some things that kinda bring it down a bit. I mean, it goes without saying that the animation, for the time, is probably some of Rankin Bass's best, even if it was all done by another group. The use of detailed backgrounds give the characters an enchanting and often haunting atmosphere, and the designs for many characters bring out the best in them. The sound design and music give it an almost relaxing tone throughout, and the plot talks of the fragility of our mortality, what it means to be happy, and how to love. The problems I have stem from the story being a bit underwhelming and or not fully realized, as I wished some antagonists had more time than what was expected, and certain character arcs being more clear or made longer. Like how Amalthea turning human would flat out make her forget about unicorns just because she gained mortality. And of course, why Haggard became such a sad king to begin with. Then there's the seemingly mandated movie elements like the butterfly's random songs that don't fit in this time period. And of course the talking tree that just seem out of place. However, the performances, for the most part, are really stellar. I loved Christopher Lee as Haggard. He certainly felt dark and gloomy. Tammy Grimes as Molly, and even Mia Farrow was good in her role as the unicorn. The film's definitely flawed in many areas, but I can't say this is a bad one. I can definitely see why people hold this in high regard in terms of fantasy stories. Visually speaking, it does capture the charm and wonder of the fantasy genre well, and while I don't know how the book would handle most things, as here they cut out one of the endings in the book, I can imagine that influencing many other fantasy stories with its mythos and charm. Now, while several DVD releases of the film came out starting with Lionsgate, which had several issues regarding quality and the like, Shout Factory recently released their own DVD and Blu-ray with like 2K digital quality and commentary by some of the film creators. If you're remotely interested in the movie, it would be worth your time looking into this version, because it really does bring out the beauty in the animation, and it's certainly worth it in that aspect. Otherwise, it's a really charming movie that stands out from other animated films at the time. Next time, we're going back to that island that only ever exists in that one movie, but had other films named after it. I'll see you then.